Joining us right now, Democratic Congresswoman from New York, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Thanks for being here. You called this out last night. You were hanging out with Tim Walz. You guys were streaming. You called it out last night. Fresh eyes on it this morning when you see that remark and you see now that comedian responding to you guys. I'll read a bit of it for you. I know you've seen it, but for everyone out there, these people have no sense of humor. While the vice presidential candidate would take time out of his busy schedule to analyze a joke taken out of context to make it seem racist. I love Puerto Rico and vacation there. I made fun of everyone, watch the whole set. I'm a comedian, Tim. Might be time to change your tampon, is what he ends it with. What does it mean today? What does it do today?
You know, this honestly isn't really about a comedian. This is about the Trump campaign. Those comments and that individual saying those things on that stage, inciting an entire arena of individuals who have been previously incited to commit attacks like the ones we saw on January 6th by people like Donald Trump. None of that was an accident. These campaign events are put together. They are vetted. That language was vetted by the Trump campaign. That person was approved by the Trump campaign because he is speaking on behalf of the Trump campaign. And I think it's really important that people understand that when we see everything that's happening, what is being transmitted and said about Latinos in the United States is exactly what the Trump campaign means. He believes that Latinos, as we've seen, are an unimportant, unvalued, and unnecessary part of the United States of America. And when Stephen Miller comes on and talks about America for Americans, he's not even talking about U.S. citizens as Americans, because Stephen Miller kind of flirts with this idea of taking away U.S. citizenship from people depending on his own personal opinions about what being an American means. And so the Trump campaign is very clearly transmitting who they believe is an American and who they don't, not based on citizenship, but based on ethnicity and based on their opinion of Donald Trump.
Your family's from Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. This is not the first time that Donald Trump has said disparaging things or uninformed things about Puerto Rico, mm-hmm. or those around him. What did you think when you first heard it last night?
You know, under the Trump administration, over 3,000 Puerto Ricans died due to Donald Trump's intentional neglect of the island after one of the worst natural disasters and hurricanes in American history and the history of the entire Western Hemisphere. People in Puerto Rico were left without power for up to a year, over a year. So there's really nothing that's an accident about what was said last night. It is an authentic depiction of how Donald Trump believes and what he thinks about Puerto Rico. He even talked about selling Puerto Rico and brought up the idea of selling Puerto Rico when he was president of the United States. This is what these people believe, and it's not a joke.
How do you square then, when we look back at the numbers and the gains he has made with Latino voters since 2016? From 2016, depending what you're looking at with the numbers now, you see a 9-point gain. You've seen Harris I've seen 12 points fewer than Hillary Clinton got in 2016. Seen some recent gains in some new polling just out yesterday that she's making with Latino voters. How do you explain it? How do you explain that Trump is making ground with Latinos?
You know, I think ironically it's because he realized that he needed to keep his mouth shut with his bigotry for a very long period of time in order to try to make some kind of disingenuous case to the Latino community. But the fact
you don't believe him when he speaks to it.
Pardon?
You said disingenuous. You do not think when he speaks to Latino voters, when he speaks to helping when he's in Nevada speaking to workers. You don't believe it.
No. I mean, you don't insinuate that Latinos are un-American or less American if you actually value them. He wants to be president of the United States. He'll say what he needs to say, but at the end of the day, when you look at what Kamala Harris does, she actually ironically unveiled her platform and plan for Puerto Rico yesterday, before that rally even started. And that plan involves actually addressing the displacement crisis that Puerto Ricans are facing right now, the displacement of doctors and teachers, the closures of schools and public facilities, the lack of investment in infrastructure, and as a Puerto Rican American, extremely concerned about people using tax loopholes to displace people in Puerto Rico, she's actually trying to see and solve and create opportunities for Puerto Rican Americans. And you see the contrast of Donald Trump maybe trying to distract from the fact that he has no economic plan for Latinos in general, but also not only that, blaming economic issues, for example, our housing crisis, on Latinos and on immigrants. Instead of actually coming up with a plan to help lower our cost of rent and mortgages, he's coming out here just trying to blame immigrants for the fact that it's actually his buddies and friends that are driving up the cost of housing in America.
Speaking of broader campaign, I've seen Trump-aligned PACs. I've seen it on air and I've seen it digitally. Trump-aligned PACs have used you in ads to hit Kamala Harris, saying to label her San Francisco liberal is the term that they often use again and again. Do you think your support for her hurts her with moderate voters, which we have very clearly seen in the recent weeks that she's making a direct appeal to?
I don't think so. And I think that bears out in the data and the evidence, not just a matter of personal opinion. I work very closely alongside many of my colleagues across the House Democratic Caucus, and they are of all different kinds of political opinions. Frankly, I think moderate voters and everyday people see right through some of these scare tactics for what they are. They see how they are exaggerations. They see that these are kind of just baseless attacks. And that's made evident by the fact that I'm proud to be able to support, swing district Democrats, and they're not afraid of these attack ads. They're just not landing and they're not effective.
Flip side of this, she has gone on a whole tour with former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney to try to win moderate Republicans. I mean, looking back, you and Liz Cheney in the House, you guys butt heads on issues over and over again. She calls Liz Cheney a true patriot when they were campaigning together. Is that hurting Kamala Harris with more progressive voters?
Well, listen, I think there's plenty of people that aren't happy about that. And I think that is part of the nature of putting together a coalition. I don't love it, but that doesn't mean that we aren't on the same team and we aren't on the same page when it comes to who is unequivocally the better candidate in order to win the presidential election.
On the issues, her evolution on positions, and she's explained the evolution on her positions from 4 years ago, fracking, border wall, border security, Medicare for all. They have moved from more progressive to more moderate. That's the direction you very clearly see in this election. Do you like that she is doing that? Do you like that shift?
I think that my stances on these issues are very clear. I believe that every single American has the right to health care, and we should be working to guarantee to improve and expand Medicare and lower the age of eligibility to 0. And that's my goal. I also believe that we need to have a real plan to document people who wish to come into the United States and contribute to our growing economy and really be part of what is charging the economy, which is frankly also what bears out in the data. That's not a matter of personal opinion. The American economy thrives because of our immigrant population. The way that we address the crisis is by actually providing a path to citizenship and documenting people. And when it comes to the climate crisis, our time is ticking down. But what I believe is that the Democratic Party is a coalition, and the stronger we make our case, and the stronger that we say we need to get big money out of politics, we need to tax these billionaires so that to the point that they stop manipulating our economy and squeezing the working class, I know what candidate the progressive flank has a fighting chance with, and it's not Donald Trump, it's Kamala Harris.
Congresswoman, thank you for coming in this morning.
Of course, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
John?